Michael Jackson's reach in the early 90s was total. He filled stadiums with hundreds of thousands of people at once, commanding a global audience that crossed nearly every demographic line to sing about racial harmony. By the year 1995, the promotion for his album HIST reflected an artist operating on a massive, defensive scale. The label floated multi-ton statues of Jackson in military garb down European rivers to signal his return. But buried within that release was "They Don't Care About Us." Listeners were met with lyrics utilizing virulent slurs: "Jew me, sue me, kick me, kike me." The public reacted with immediate confusion. The New York Times called it a shocking inclusion. We have to ask how a man who built an empire on racial harmony came to utilize hate speech. It forces a choice between assuming active malice or a catastrophic miscommunication born from personal trauma. The narrative shifted in 1993. Evan and Jordan Chandler accused Jackson of child abuse at his Neverland Ranch compound, beginning a process that would shatter his public image. Investigators found no physical evidence, but a relentless media frenzy and public extortion attempts effectively convicted Jackson before he ever reached a courtroom. The investigation reached a breaking point when police executed a warrant for a 25-minute strip search. They photographed Jackson's entire body to verify Jordan Chandler's description of his skin discoloration. The humiliation took a physical toll. Jackson stopped eating, his weight plummeted, and he developed a heavy dependence on painkillers to handle the stress of being under constant surveillance. Jackson entered the studio to record history as a traumatized, defensive victim. The hardened military aesthetic of this era reflected a man who felt he was perpetually under siege. Jackson's justification was built on a specific logic, holding a mirror to his tormentors, using their ugly language to embody the bigotry hurled at him. But for the public on the right, that mirror didn't exist. They simply heard a megastar broadcasting hate speech. This clash was a paradox of his personal life. Just before the album's release, Jackson had requested a private tour of the Museum of Tolerance, and witnesses described him leaving the Holocaust exhibit in tears. He maintained close personal ties to the community, including a mentorship and friendship with Rabbi Shmuley Boteach, with whom he shared regular Shabbat dinners. The crisis was a result of artistic tunnel vision. Jackson was so consumed by his own status as a victim that he became blind to the historical trauma attached to the words he chose to use as weapons. Epic Records initiated a massive damage control operation. They pulled the master tapes back, masking the slurs with loud, jarring sound effects on all subsequent pressings. To salvage the song's core message, the label hired director Spike Lee to create two entirely different music videos that reflected the fracture in Jackson's identity. The prison version was raw and confrontational. It intercut Jackson in a cell block with footage of police brutality and war, reflecting his internal rage at a system he felt was rigged against him. The Brazil version attempted to pivot the track toward a joyful, global protest anthem. By placing Jackson in the streets with the Olodum drummers, they moved the focus away from his personal trauma and toward community unity. These two videos captured the two sides of Jackson at the time: the angry, isolated prisoner, and the global unifier trying to find his way back to his audience. The trauma of 1993 left a permanent consequence. The untouchable Peter Pan image was gone forever, and Jackson would spend the rest of his career on the defensive. Over the following decades, the noise of the specific controversy slowly faded from public consciousness. The song eventually found a second life. Modern global movements have adopted it as an anthem against systemic oppression, using it in protests from the Arab Spring to the streets of modern America. Despite the catastrophic misstep of its original lyrics, the song "They Don't Care About Us" outlived the scandal of its creation. It ultimately achieved the exact anti-oppression legacy Michael Jackson had originally intended.